Hello, everybody. This is Matthew Brand. Welcome to the Matthew Creek Podcast. And today I want to address something that's going on in the Metro Detroit area. There's been a large rise in crime, right? Violent crime, theft, things that actually hurt other people, right? Sometimes you can have crime, but it's kind of like a crime that doesn't hurt other people, right? Oh, you're smoking something you shouldn't be smoking. You have something you shouldn't be having. You're selling something to somebody who wants to buy it that the government doesn't think that's okay. Wherever you sit on those things, those typically aren't considered, a crime unless the person you're selling something to is underage, right? They're not considered in their mind enough to make their own decisions. But when you have all consenting adults, right, prostitution, uh, gambling, unsanctioned gambling, and all kinds of different stuff like that, you have, yes, something you shouldn't be doing, but they're not victims. But when you have theft, murder, assault, kidnapping, uh, the R word, right? All these different things, these are genuine assaults, and these theft, the carjacking, all that stuff is escalating. It's escalating in Detroit. Now, some people say, "Oh, it went down during the pandemic," but that was just mostly because people weren't out. Now that people are out again, it's going through the roof. Now, why is that? Well, honestly, it's the same people over and over again. They don't have spots to put them all, and they just let them right back out on the street. Some of it, people feel like the police aren't doing anything. You don't really rely on the police a lot in Detroit, and you have a culture of people who have grown up, right? You can't say, okay, you can say maybe the police have a slightly better response time than they used to. But let's face it, even, I think a lot of people will admit if you grew up in Detroit, you kind of had to rely on your own. What do you do when the police aren't doing a sufficient enough job to keep the area safe, right? Because you still got to have freedom. But on the other hand, it's not just simply freedom. The police can't show up can only show up so fast, right? They can't teleport, and eventually gets to the point where there's so much crime going on that even though they're victims, the smaller crimes that aren't as excessive, you gotta admit they're like, oh well, this is small stuff, right? This is little potatoes. It doesn't get handled as much, and then you kind of get to a culture where everybody feels like doing handling stuff on their own, but handling stuff on their own is illegal. So it's kind of becomes this weird cycle. You don't even know who's actually committing assault as a victim of a crime or as an aggressor, right? Those two things can get conflated. A lot of things in the self-defense community paint things in the picture of it's very clearly black and white, and we're not addressing the whole realistic manner of what's really going on. But if you live in the Metro Detroit area, hey, it's a good idea to get a CPL. It's a good idea to come up with a plan, right? A plan for self defense, a plan for home invasions. A lot of people use Detroit as a ideal or an example of the exception to the rule. Like, oh yeah, of course, this is what you should normally think about when you're, you know, doing self defense. You don't need all that. You don't need all this. I mean, it's not like you live in Detroit. Well, a lot of people do live in Detroit or near Detroit or go to Detroit to go to work or whatever the case may be. These are things people have to think about. So, if you want, I would advise that you get your CPL if you live in the Metro Detroit area. Even if you don't, you live in Michigan, get your CPL. And a lot of people think, I know this. I noticed this. A lot of people, as soon as I mention that, they say, well, I don't know if I'm ready for a gun. You don't need a CPL to get your gun, and having a gun doesn't mean you have to have your CPL. What it means is if you ever feel the need to carry, conceal, right, or get in the car with your gun, or whatever the case may be, now you have that option. You don't want to wait until you need to drive to go start getting your license, right? Oh, I need a job. I've been taking public transportation all the time, but now I have this awesome opportunity that's just about half an hour away where the buses don't go. It's great, and I can drive, but I just don't have my license. Why risk driving like illegally? Why risk getting arrested? Why risk getting arrested driving on a suspended or driving without a license when you could just get it ahead of time? Why bother? And the same with the CPL. If something comes up and you're like, man, you know what? I kind of feel like I need something on me. Why wait until that day to feel like you should get something? What's the hesitancy? What's the worry? I get the money, right? And there are programs, we do programs, right, where we help people who have low income. So if you need something, find me on Facebook. Contact Magnum Creed on Facebook. We're there. Magnum Creed is on Instagram. We help people who are low income get their CPL. There are other people who will help you if you're low income. Like, people in the gun community are not a bunch of, you know, redneck elitists like some people like you think. They are happy when you're safe. People in the community are typically happy when you're safe and you're protected and you take your self defense into your own hands instead of thinking that the police are a magic fairy button you can press and they'll just solve your problems, right? A lot of people don't even feel comfortable calling the police. So take that for example. You could be in a situation, and I've had that happen, where like you have a woman, their ex or whatever started harassing them, getting out of control, and things got crazy. And they're like, man, I need something for the house. Okay, so then you just wait till you're not at the house. It happens. I've seen it happen. A lot of people get caught or get or mess up doing something that sounds good in their head, taking baby steps, but it's the license or the carrying that scares them for some weird reason. Sometimes they even go get a gun, but they're like, oh, I don't know, having a license, that sounds, that sounds excessive. Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at all. Now, it's a slow process. You can get your gun first and then get the license. You can get your license first and get the gun. Personally, I think the license, a class like that, is a good thing to take before you purchase a firearm because it's an educated decision. Now, if you have the money, there are plenty of places you can go. If you're in the Metro Detroit area, you want a CPL, there's almost every gun range, right, offers a class. Almost every, yeah, any place with a range pretty much offers classes. And like I said, if you're low income, contact Magna Creek. We can probably help you. I'm not going to pay, for your class to take it somewhere else, but I'm a licensed instructor. I can work with you on pricing. A lot of the times it's just the pricing is materials, right? You have bullets can cost money, right? You have the gun rental can cost money if you don't have your own. Sometimes I have people who take classes and they can't find the bullets for the gun that they want to take, so they might have like bought a 380 or a 45 ACP. I have people like that, and then they're like, "Oh, I want to take the class," and then they go up to the range, and the range is like, "I don't know where to find that." Well, I typically know which ranges have what ammo, right? And sometimes you may have to pay a little bit more if you want to excuse me, shoot that specific gun. If there's something else you want to shoot, right? Now, if you have 9 millimeter, you're pretty much covered. But that's really the expensive part is the ammo. Sometimes the book, can cost a little bit of money, but that can be worked on, right? And that can make the difference between you feeling like, oh man, this is going to cost me uh, $200, $300 in the end, and costing like about 150 in the end. Because a lot of these classes cost about $100. Then you have another $100 to take your what to apply for the application and the fingerprinting and all that. You're talking about another $100. It adds up over time. So where you can save money, work with where you can save money. That's what we're here for. That's what Magna Creed's here for. But other people, they do great classes too. Like, I'm not knocking any instructor, but get your CPL, please. Right? If you're mentally sound and you are a good moral person, please, right? You don't do drugs, you don't drink, like that. Please go get your CPL. I'm not saying you could never drink, but you shouldn't drink and carry. And if you're always drinking, right, you're not a sober person. It's not a good idea. It's just something to think about. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. All the crazy stuff going on, it just seems sensible that you should get a CPL if you're over 21. Anyway, that's just my thought. You let me know what your thought is, right? Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'm out.